It's been just over a week since the last Knowledge Exchange violin event, the filming on Farnham Heath, the RSPB, with Lawrence Rose, the warden Mike Coates, cameraman Imogen, and director Skaerved. And today I've come to one of my musical artistic homes in London to bring together some of the pieces that I've been exploring over the past month, new pieces and old, at Goldsmiths, University of London. Goldsmiths has a proud history of being at the centre of innovation in contemporary art and music and theatre. I've been very proud to be involved in here for many years, and I now have the rather grand-sounding title of Visiting Research Fellow. And this evening I'm giving a salon of works by Michael Alec Rose, by Sadie Harrison, by Mihailo Trantivolovsky, Michael Hirsch, Tim Holt, who I met at Chris Cairns' studio in Philadelphia just the week before last, and who gave me this beautiful little piece, Ikebana 1, which I'm going to give the UK premiere of tonight. In fact, it's the live premiere. Anyway, I did it on camera to just him, and that's all there has been so far. And I'm going to be doing the UK premiere of David Matthews' Shiva Dances, which has been renamed Dancing Shiva for various reasons. There's a theme running through this evening's programme, which is one of the themes of the series Emerging, which is how do we deal with our pasts. So I've taken, for instance, to start with, Michael Alec Rose's piece about the picture of the meeting of St. Anthony and St. Paul by the maestro of the Saint Laurence Avanza from the National Gallery in DC, which I played there 2 weeks ago, and see that in the context of us dealing now with mysterious, legendary past, particularly the aspect of St. Anthony on his way to meet St. Paul the Hermit in the desert, and as depicted in the painting in the middle of a dark wood, a very Dante-esque dark wood, running into a sentia with a palm frond who shows him the way, very mysterious, unchristian kind of idea, primal pulsing beneath Christian legend and myth. Then we're going to find our way to two pieces inspired by the Baroque. I'm going to very much emphasize how much Sadie Harrison's Passacaglia is rooted in Bieber today. It's really interesting to play a piece of music which is rooted in such a well-known chaconne, and even more excitingly today, when I play Mihailo Trantivolovsky's chaconne, which follows it, which I played last of all in Baltimore just last week. The really exciting thing about bringing it to Goldsmiths, and for its UK premiere, its live premiere in the UK that is, curiously it's already been released on CD, is that it was at Goldsmiths, at an event like this, that the idea was born. In the spring I was doing a salon event here based around the idea of chaconnes and passacaglias, but with no Bach. So I was playing Röntgen, and I played Bieber, and I played some other anonymous chaconnes from the Baroque, and I played the amazing XVIII chaconne, which he based on the royal theme, which is the foundation of Bach's musical offering. Well, of course, Bach didn't write that chaconne theme. After that very intimate salon, which was a little bit wrecked because there was a tube strike that night, so we had only very few people there. Mihailo was at the concert, and he and the composer Roger Redgate, who is an inspiring collaborator here at Goldsmiths, a wonderful composer who's writing a series of caprices for me, were talking about how much they loved the XVIII, which they'd not heard before. It is a marvellous piece. And I sort of playfully said, well, Mihailo, in all of the pieces he's written for me, he's written a lot, you've not written a chaconne, so it's really time you do that. And this piece resulted from it, and we recorded it very, very soon afterwards. And interestingly, the piece develops every single time I play it, every single environment, almost as if it's been liberated by being recorded first. Although when we recorded it, each of the straight-through playthroughs we did was completely different. I did 4 complete takes, and we just, well, I don't know what Mihailo did. He produced the recording, he chose one of them. I'm not sure which one he did because I haven't had the chance to listen to the disc since I got back. I've got the disc, but I haven't had time yet. So there's another kind of rooting in the past in as much as this is Tradyvolosky reaching back to the Baroque, but inspired by help from one of the great composers of the 20th century. Also in the concert, we reach back to nature because I'm going to bring Michael Alec Rose's piece for Farnham Heath, which I premiered last week outside, luckily when it wasn't raining. I'm going to bring it indoors for the first time, which is going to be interesting. Then I'm going to, thinking about how we root things in the past, play another piece written for me by Michael Hirsch, whose 7 elegies I was playing last week in Philadelphia, this time a piece that he based on the work of the Polish artist and writer Bruno Schulz, who was killed 80 years ago this year by a Gestapo officer. He wrote this wonderful comic series of short stories called The Street of the Crocodiles, and the piece quotes from one of his bits of writing from that collection of stories, In the Snowy Margins. And typical with Michael's work, it's a series of miniatures of increasing desperateness and catastrophe, ending in peace, which is not peace. And then to finish the concert, I'm going to play the UK premiere of David Matthews's Dancing Shiva, which I mentioned earlier. And I want to talk a little bit about coincidence. So David has written many, many pieces for me. There's at least 30 over the years. And I'm talking about solo violin pieces. I'm not talking about the multiple string quartets he's written for my group and pieces for other combinations. But this piece he suddenly sent to me, and it was inspired by a bronze Shiva statuette that he owns. And when we met and worked on the piece and did the things I really love, and working with the composer, finding our way into a score, opening it up, I didn't tell him that what's really intriguing is that for the past 40 years, I've had a 19th century bronze Shiva on my desk. It was almost as if, when I first got the piece, I assumed that he'd seen my Shiva in my room, but I don't think there's any way he could have done. So there's a lovely kind of sense of coincidence and serendipity to end today's concert, rooted in the past and nature, in myth and sharing of ideas.